Hello, artists! Welcome back to another Art Life Conversations podcast. I'm your host, artist, and teacher and mentor online, Kelly Folsom, and I'm super excited and happy to be here with all of you today. I'm so happy to hear from so many of you of how you're enjoying the podcast, and I also really appreciate your feedback. Topics that you would like me to discuss and cover. And so keep those coming. You can keep emailing at info@artlifewithkelly with an I, not a Y, .com, and send me in those podcast requests. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about 5 things to do to get your art business started. And you also hear me calling it your art business. It's a business, y'all. That's the first thing you want to determine. Are you really interested in being a professional artist and running your own art business? So the very first thing that you need to do is to set up your business legally. And I think that this is really important to do because I know for me and my experience, part of what happened was I didn't set up my business as a business. So for years, I would just file self-employed. And one of the biggest things I noticed was like as soon as I actually filed legally to be a business and I started operating my business as a business, then I was able to really present myself so much more professionally. I felt more professional. I also felt more objective about the decisions that I needed to make. So I highly recommend that if you want to really be a professional artist, that you do not file as self-employed. Obviously, you're going to have to check with your CPA, get legal advice on that front, like I do. So this is not, legal advice here, but I see that there was a big shift, a big mindset shift for me, and also a shift in my daily actions and how I showed up, even in my studio, even at the easel. Like I show up differently as a business owner than I did back in the day as a self-employed artist. And the other, of course, benefit of this is that, God forbid if anybody should ever try to sue you or anything, that you are protected in terms of they can only go after, the business. They can only go after what the assets the business has and not your personal assets. So it's just smart that way too. And a lot of CPAs will give you advice for free and let you know what licenses you need to have and what that costs and what that entails. So a lot of times if you don't have a CPA, you can do like what I did and I started emailing CPAs here in Denver, Colorado, asking for advice on what they thought I should do. And many of them gave me free advice. Many of them, called me on the phone because, of course, they're hoping to also get a new client. So a lot of them are happy to answer some of those questions absolutely free of charge. The other resource that most of us usually have is like most cities and stuff tend to have a small business administration chapter. Check in with those 2 people to get advice on what you should do. Like, should you file to be an LLC? How much is that going to cost you? And if you don't have the money, for that license, then that is like your first revenue goal, right? Is to make that money to get that, business license. Okay. So, in speaking of revenue goal, that is the number, 2 thing I would recommend for artists to do is that you actually start off with a revenue goal. How much money do you want to make? How much money do you want your business to make? Okay, how much money do you need to make? At least start there first. How much money do you need to make just to get by, just to pay the bills? And then you're going to also have to add about 30%, 25 to 30% to that for taxes as well, right? So you're going to have to, plan to make more so that you can cover the taxes that you're going to need to pay on that income. But you need to set a revenue goal annually for the year. And then what I like to do is I like to break it down from the year to quarterly and then, of course, to monthly. So having a monthly revenue goal has been critical for my success financially. So the number 3 thing you need to do is then to develop your plan, your marketing plan, your plan of attack to reach that revenue goal. So that would be step 3. Is you need to have a plan. How are you going to make that money? What's your ideas? Have you made money from your art before? If so, can you maximize that? Can you do more of that, or can you find more opportunities like that? How are you going to market and sell your work so that you can reach that revenue goal? So I always like to have, make sure that I've got a multiple ways, to make that income, make that revenue until you really get like a tried and true thing that you have implemented over and over and over again, and that will bring in a certain amount of revenue over and over and over again. And then trying to figure out, like, how can I create a sure thing? How can I create revenue that is recurring, that is more stable, that is more of a sure thing? What can I do in order to create that recurring income? So I think every business, has to have cash flow, has to have revenue, money that is coming in regularly, right? To cover, the roof over our head, to cover our cost of supplies, to cover food on the table, right? So we have to have money that is coming in on a regular basis. And so recurring revenue is really better than, like, oh, I've got this one big show once a year and it's like my whale of the year, it's my big harvest of the year, and all my eggs are in that basket. If you're new to business, you probably just want to start with 90 days. What is your first 90-day, your 3-month quarterly plan to reach that revenue? So number 4, the 4th thing that you want to do to get your art business started is to basically create and communicate your brand. You need to know, what it is that you create, but you also need to put it into words, right? So these are things like, obviously, like your bio page or about me page. What do you create and who do you create it for, essentially? Do you have a tagline, or, a shorter bio or shorter tagline description of your art, what you create and who you create it for? So you really want to create your own brand, get all of those pieces into place, writing about your art, writing about yourself as an artist. What is your mission with your art? Who do you most want to serve with your art? Why do they love having your art? Why do they love buying your art? So those are the things that you really want to clarify and decide, who you are as an artist. And then, of course, the last step is just implement, take action. So once you have all of these pieces in place, then you basically just have to follow through and take action. And especially if you're new, there's a lot of testing that happens, right? Like, you're testing out what people are responding to. You are doing a lot of market research, so you might be, just really trying to get to know who your ideal customers are and finding out what it is that they want to buy from you, why they might not buy from you as well, so you really just have to start to take action. So setting that revenue goal, creating that marketing plan that you're going to follow through on, and then taking action and implementing that, and then basically wash, rinse, and repeat, right? So you're going to take all that information, all that feedback that you get, what worked, what didn't work, and see where things need to be tweaked, see where things need to be adapted, where you need to be adaptable. And then, the things that aren't working, you usually have to see like, well, is this something that's just not going to work, that people just in zero are responding to? Or is it something that I need to tweak? Maybe I need to tweak the offer or the way I offer it. Maybe I need to tweak my language or make my emails better. Nobody's opening my emails. Nobody's clicking in the emails. That is, part of running a business, paying attention to the data and basically paying attention to the results that you're getting and recalibrating if needed from there. Sometimes we have to try things so many different ways before we get the result that we're looking for. Figuring out how to make a freaking piece of beautiful artwork, is like, oh my gosh, takes so long to do that, right? Like it takes so much effort and thought and heart and soul and grit and grace and all that stuff, right? And the same thing is true for running an art business. The exact same way I would approach a painting. I don't expect it to go right all the time. I don't expect it to be an instant success. I expect things to have a learning curve, especially whenever you come into something with very limited knowledge. I invested in being an artist, and I don't see any difference between that and investing in my education for my business as well. If I show up every day, if I show up consistently, if I practice, if I listen to the feedback, right? If I look for the opportunities, if I invest in my education and get the knowledge and the learning and build the skill that I need, success is inevitable at that point. It will come. It will happen. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have to keep staying consistent. I have to keep growing. I have to keep learning. I have to keep wash, rinse, and repeating, right? I have to keep building. I have to keep marketing. I have to keep selling. I have to keep trying to get better at delivering my products and services, right? In order to be a really successful business owner as well. And learning how to be an artist is just as uncomfortable and just as hard to do as it is to learn how to run our business. So I also find that perspective shift is really helpful, because there's a huge myth out there that artists should not be good at business, and it's almost like you're shamed if you are, or oh, something must be wrong with you, because artists are only supposed to be functioning on the right side of the brain and just be creative 24/7. And I'm like, but running a business is creative. Like, it's just as creative as painting a painting. So just to recap those 5 steps: set up your business legally, officially, right? Set your annual and monthly revenue goal, create your marketing plan at least for 90 days to reach that goal, and create your brand, clarify and communicate your brand, and then implement, take action, and then analyze, right? Implement and analyze would be that analyze the results, step number 5. Okay, artists, I'm wishing you all so much abundance and success in every area of your art life.